Claressa Shields, the Olympic double gold medalist, the undefeated queen of women's boxing, the woman who has spent her entire adult life training to punch other human beings into a different tax bracket, just got mentally knocked out cold by a girl with a cell phone and a caption. No jab. No hook. No uppercut. No overhand right. No body shot to the liver. One photograph, honey. One. A single, solitary, casually posted photograph. And the greatest woman boxer of this entire generation folded like a lawn chair at a family cookout in 98-degree heat. If you thought this Claressa Shields vs Tesehki storyline was over, baby, pull the plug on whatever you're doing, cancel your evening plans, tell your man to warm his own plate up, because what actually happened is worse than any of these blogs are telling you. Every single one of these little reaction pages is skimming the surface, and by the end of this breakdown you are going to understand exactly why Claressa Shields might never live this particular moment down. Not in the ring. Not on a podcast. Not on a red carpet. Not at a weigh-in. Not on an ESPN sit-down. Not on the cover of a magazine. Not ever. Welcome back to the couch, baby. Grab your cup, pull the curtains, lock the door, silence your mama's phone call, put the dog in the other room, because tonight we are opening up the entire file on the pettiest, messiest, most surgically executed act of digital revenge that the culture has served us all year. And Claressa Shields, God bless her competitive little heart, walked herself right into it with her chest all the way out. Everything we're about to unpack tonight is publicly posted material, Instagram captions, live stream clips, podcast quotes, comment sections, screenshots that have been floating around the timeline for weeks. What is confirmed, we will call confirmed. What is speculation, we will flag as speculation loud and clear, because we don't do reckless on this couch. This is your favorite spot for the tea that is already boiling, and if you're brand new here, do me one very small favor before we dig into the pot, tap that subscribe button, smack that little like button until it turns blue, and share this with the group chat that has been arguing about Claressa Shields all week, because tonight, baby, the argument ends. Let us rewind the calendar all the way back. Almost a full year ago now, Claressa Shields did what champions who are bored, restless, well-paid, and a little too online tend to do when nobody in the sanctioned world will give them a real fight. Claressa Shields went on social media and put a bounty on herself. Not a metaphor. Not a figure of speech. Not a marketing stunt. A literal, cash, hand-to-God bounty. $10,000 first. Then 10 became 50. Then 50 became a full $100,000 of Claressa Shields' own personal money, dangled in the digital air, promised to any street fighter, any brawler, any woman on planet Earth who thought she could step through a rope, tie her hair up, and take Claressa Shields' head clean off her shoulders. No city restrictions. No weight class conversation. No paperwork. No agent required. No excuses accepted. Just a boxing world champion telling the entire internet, in the plainest language possible, come and get it. Come collect. My money is on the table and my chin is right here. And the entire internet, in one of the most rare and beautiful moments of complete cultural agreement we have seen in years, coughed up exactly one name. One. Not two. Not a short list. Not a Twitter poll with 4 options. One name. Tesehki. That reality show baddie with the reputation, the reach, and the reflexes that make grown men reroute their entire evening just to avoid the block she's standing on. The woman whose knuckles have their own separate Wikipedia page. The woman who has been video clipped in more parking lot incidents than most active MMA fighters have professional bouts. And baby, that right there was the exact moment the trapdoor opened underneath Claressa Shields' feet, she just did not hear the little click when it happened. Because here is the delicious, spicy, career-defining little detail that Claressa Shields did not price into her $100,000 bounty. The man at the center of the emotional universe here, Papoose, the Brooklyn rapper turned Claressa Shields' significant other, is the same Papoose who, according to widely circulated public reports, caused a low-level thermonuclear incident between Claressa Shields and Remy Ma not too long ago. So when Claressa Shields walked into this Tesehki confrontation with her chest puffed all the way out and her mouth running on cruise control, Claressa Shields was already sitting on a very live wire. Claressa Shields lit the match herself. Claressa Shields poured on the accelerant. Claressa Shields even passed out complimentary marshmallows to the audience in the stands. And then, when the bonfire licked her own eyebrows clean off, Claressa Shields had the raw, unearned nerve to look shocked about it. Baby, when you put a bounty on your own head, the neighborhood collects. Every single time. Without exception. And the second Tesehki's government name started trending underneath Claressa Shields' call-out, this whole thing stopped being a boxing debate and turned into a full-blown, all-arms, all-hands cultural war. A war Claressa Shields was so unprepared for that it almost hurts to watch in real time. Enter the podcast. Claressa Shields pulls up to pop the balloon, that whole circuit that pretends to be about dating but is really about clip farms and viral moments, and somebody on that panel finally asks the exact question the entire timeline was already screaming, could Tesehki, in a real one-on-one fight, actually beat Claressa Shields? And Claressa Shields, instead of letting that question die peacefully in the air where it belonged, doubled down and then tripled down on the answer. Tesehki, according to Claressa Shields, cannot touch a trained fighter. Those baddies Tesehki has been dropping on reality TV, according to Claressa Shields, and I am quoting the spirit of what she said, ain't trained, they just got body work. That is a direct, targeted, laser-guided swing at the entire plastic surgery culture surrounding that reality show, and everybody watching knew exactly what Claressa Shields meant. And then Claressa Shields tossed Tesehki one polite, half-hearted little crumb from the champion's table. If Tesehki ever seriously wanted the smoke, Claressa Shields said, she would oblige and give Tesehki a fight. But that respect was thin, baby. It was tissue paper thin. It was one-ply toilet paper thin. You could hold that respect up to the sun and read a newspaper through it. And this right here, this exact minute of Claressa Shields' podcast footage, is the whole feud captured in a single perfect snow globe. On one side of that snow globe, you have an Olympian. Meal plans. Sparring partners. Certified strength coaches. A whole camp behind her. A resume with medals stacked on top of medals on top of world titles on top of pound-for-pound rankings. On the other side of that snow globe, you have a woman whose entire training program is walking down the wrong block at the wrong time and refusing to be a victim. Discipline versus instinct. Technique versus temper. Structure versus chaos. The champion versus the storm. That is the debate that split every single comment section in America straight down the middle, and every single move Claressa Shields made after that podcast only made the crack in the ice wider. Then Tesehki heard it. All of it. Every syllable. And Tesehki responded, not with a fist, not with a threat, not with a challenge, but with something far, far more dangerous. Language. Tesehki hopped on live and delivered what might genuinely be the coldest, most self-aware assessment of the entire year. Claressa Shields, according to Tesehki, only wins this fight in one universe, the universe where Tesehki is never, ever allowed to train. Tesehki called herself a natural-born trained killer, the kind of fighter who does not need a coach because rage itself is her coach. Every single scuffle you have ever seen Tesehki win, according to Tesehki, was pure raw uncoached instinct, no gym, no mitt work, no film study, no game plan, no corner in her ear. And then Tesehki dropped the line that made Claressa Shields' entire camp go absolutely silent for a full news cycle. Tesehki said she is now, for the first time in her entire adult life, about to actually start training. Sparring. Real sessions. Real coaches. Structured strength work. And once Tesehki flips that switch, according to Tesehki, absolutely nobody on planet Earth is safe from what happens next. Baby, that is either delusion at the Olympic level, or it is the scariest single sentence Claressa Shields has ever had aimed in her direction, because here is the truth about combat sports, a trained fighter fights with a game plan. A natural fighter has no plan, no restraint, no mercy button, no off switch, no exit ramp. Tesehki's entire pitch to the culture is this: Claressa Shields earned her titles through discipline, and Tesehki was simply born with something you cannot teach in any gym on any continent. Whether you believe that pitch or not, you have to admit, it is a great pitch. It is a beautifully constructed pitch. It is a pitch that survives contact with the algorithm. Now let us ask the smart fan question, honey, because this right here is the crossroads where Claressa Shields quietly lost the crowd. Why is a two-time Olympic gold medalist, a multi-belt undisputed world champion, a name that is supposed to be sharing oxygen with Ali and Robinson and Lewis in the eventual history books, publicly wrestling in the mud with a reality TV brawler? Why is Claressa Shields punching all the way down instead of preparing for her next real, sanctioned, pay-per-view opponent? The comment sections turned on Claressa Shields with a swiftness that should have been a warning shot across the bow. Claressa Shields does too much for clout. Claressa Shields, focus on boxing. Claressa Shields, why are you even acknowledging Tesehki's existence? Claressa Shields, this is beneath you. And to be fair, because we ride for the truth in every direction on this couch, no matter who it favors, Claressa Shields is not wrong to be annoyed. A grown, decorated, world-class champion truly should not have to justify herself against somebody whose sparring gym is a Popeye's parking lot. Claressa Shields, on paper, had absolutely nothing to prove. That is the whole tragedy of this entire storyline. The moment Claressa Shields started acting like she did have something to prove, Claressa Shields lost the whole plot. Because the second a champion starts arguing with the parking lot, baby, the parking lot has already won the round, and the parking lot did not even have to break a sweat to do it. The parking lot didn't miss a meal. The parking lot didn't skip a shift. The parking lot didn't even change its shoes. But Claressa Shields could not let it go. And that, honey, is the character detail that is going to follow Claressa Shields around for years. Instead of walking away and letting the internet forget by Tuesday morning, Claressa Shields did the one single thing champions are trained from the amateur ranks never, ever to do. Claressa Shields fed the beast. Claressa Shields hopped online with a public offer of $300,000 to face Tecia Torres in a real ring, dragging a legitimate MMA name into what had already curdled into a reality TV storyline. Claressa Shields ran fan polls at all hours. Who should Claressa Shields fight next? Claressa Shields vs. Ivory. Claressa Shields vs. Dolly. Claressa Shields sitting in the middle of the timeline, letting the audience play matchmaker with her career. And every single one of those posts, whether Claressa Shields realized it in the moment or not, was another log tossed onto Tesehki's fire, because every single one of those posts told the algorithm the exact same thing: Claressa Shields is thinking about Tesehki. Claressa Shields is refreshing the timeline. Claressa Shields is losing the composure that made Claressa Shields a champion in the first place. The supporters of Claressa Shields called it smart promotion. The critics called it desperation with a business receipt taped to the front of it. Either way you cut it, the entire timeline was watching every keystroke. And Tesehki, patient as a spider in the corner of a window, was watching too. Waiting. Not typing. Not posting. Not reacting. Just watching. And that patience, that discipline, that ability to not swing at every pitch, is the thing nobody expected from a woman whose whole brand is supposed to be uncontrolled violence. Tesehki was playing chess. Claressa Shields was playing checkers with the pieces upside down. And then Tesehki chose her weapon. Not a fist. Not a call-out video. Not a rebuttal podcast. Not a diss track. Tesehki chose a photograph. A single, casual, seemingly harmless, almost boring photograph. Tesehki, sometime after the beef had already curdled into something personal and something intimate, posted a picture that included Papoose. Just a still frame. Just a caption underneath it. Just a whole mood attached to the post. And the internet detonated in real time, live, on camera, in front of God and everyone with a phone. Now to be responsible about this, that photograph and that caption, on their face, on their own, do not confirm anything beyond what was publicly posted. There is no proof of anything private. Let me repeat that for the room. There is no proof of anything private. But online perception travels at the speed of light, and actual proof always shows up 3 business days late with a limp and a bad excuse. Fans built entire theories. Comment sections wrote whole novels in the replies. Reaction channels lit up like Christmas trees. Threads dissected every single pixel of that image, every single syllable of that caption, every song choice attached to the post, every filter, every angle, every reflection in every surface. And within minutes, not hours, minutes, the boxing rivalry was no longer a boxing rivalry at all. It was a war for narrative. It was a war for the girlfriend title. It was a war for the timeline. And Tesehki, a woman who has never thrown a single professional punch in her life, won that war before Claressa Shields could even reach her keyboard to try to defend the castle. Because Claressa Shields did reach the keyboard. Oh, Claressa Shields reached the keyboard. Within the hour, baby, 60 short minutes, Claressa Shields came flying back with her own photograph. Claressa Shields with Papoose. Caption reading something along the lines of "Good morning to my man and my man only. And listen to me, honey, listen very carefully, because this is the part that matters more than any of the punches that never got thrown. If you have to remind the entire internet, in all caps, that a man is your man and your man only, that man is already emotionally not entirely your man and your man only." That response was not a comeback. That response was a receipt for the panic. That was Claressa Shields checking the fire alarm in a house that was already smoke-logged from the basement all the way up to the attic. Claressa Shields kept swinging on the timeline after that first response, throwing more jabs, calling on the boxing world to force Tesehki into a real sanctioned ring where Claressa Shields could handle business the proper, professional way. And you know what, in the sanctioned ring, Claressa Shields probably clears Tesehki's whole entire bloodline in under 3 rounds. That is not the point. That has never once been the point. The point, honey, is that the ring was not the battlefield anymore. The battlefield was the caption box, the group chat, the reposts, the reaction videos, the memes, the podcast clips, the TikTok stitches. And on that battlefield, the trained world champion just got outboxed, outmoved, outpunched, and outthought by a reality TV baddie who has never once had to make weight on a scale for a fight. And baby, let me pause the whole story right here for 1 second, because I need you to feel the actual weight of what happened inside that clock. The hour, honey. The hour. That is the tell. That is the entire tell. When Claressa Shields let 1 full hour pass between Tesehki's post and Claressa Shields' rebuttal post, Claressa Shields told the entire internet that the shot landed. That the shot landed hard. That the shot landed exactly where it was aimed. Champions who are truly unbothered do not clock in that fast. Champions who are truly unbothered do not caption in all caps. Champions who are truly unbothered do not need to remind the world who the man belongs to. The math on this timeline is brutal. Tesehki spent maybe 40 seconds crafting her post, and Claressa Shields spent the next 59 minutes and 20 seconds losing sleep over it in real time. That is not a champion's clock. That is not a fighter's clock. That is a girlfriend's clock. And in that quiet little gap between Tesehki's post and Claressa Shields' response, the entire public perception of Claressa Shields shifted from apex predator to protective girlfriend, and once that shift happens, honey, you do not get to shift it back. The internet only allows you 1 first impression per storyline, and Claressa Shields spent hers panicking in front of a live audience of millions. Let me lay out for you exactly what Claressa Shields lost in this whole sequence, honey, because it is important to name it out loud. Claressa Shields did not lose a fight. Claressa Shields lost a frame. Claressa Shields lost the frame in which Claressa Shields is the composed, elite, above it all, ice in her veins Olympian. Claressa Shields entered this whole storyline as the champion. Claressa Shields is exiting it as a woman who reposts, panic captions, and runs fan polls at midnight with the ring light still on her face. And that shift, that vibe shift, that quiet little pivot in the culture's mental image, is exactly the kind of damage that no belt anywhere in the world fixes. Belts fix records. Belts fix rankings. Belts fix payday size. Belts do not fix perception. And in the year of our internet, perception is the whole entire game. Now, let us slow the whole thing down and steelman both sides of this argument fairly, because that is how we do it here on this couch. Team Tesehki, when you boil it all the way down, actually has a real argument. Team Tesehki says raw talent matters. Team Tesehki says heart matters more than a certificate. Team Tesehki says a bounty is a bounty, and Claressa Shields herself wrote that check with her own hand on her own timeline, so Claressa Shields cannot complain when the streets cash the check at face value. Team Tesehki also says, and this is the real kicker of the whole thing, that Tesehki did not need to touch Claressa Shields to embarrass Claressa Shields. Tesehki simply held up a mirror, and Claressa Shields could not stand what Claressa Shields looked like in that mirror. Team Claressa Shields, on the other side of the coin, is not wrong either. Team Claressa Shields says training beats instinct in a controlled setting 100 times out of 100. Team Claressa Shields says a reality TV brawl is not a fight, and a fight in a sanctioned ring under commission rules is not a reality TV brawl. Team Claressa Shields says Tesehki hides behind her phone because Tesehki knows exactly what happens the second real 10-ounce gloves come on and a real referee walks into the ring. And on paper, on pure paper, in the actual regulated sport of boxing, Team Claressa Shields is dead correct. That is where we have to be honest with ourselves. The problem is not the argument itself. The problem, honey, is the arena. Claressa Shields wanted the arena to be the ring. Tesehki turned the arena into the timeline. And you cannot win the timeline with an amateur belt or a professional one. You win the timeline with an angle. Tesehki had the angle. Claressa Shields had the resume. And in the year of our internet, the angle wins. Every single time. And now let us talk about Papoose, because Papoose, somehow, some way, has managed to sit right there in the eye of the entire hurricane, be publicly photographed with two different women who are openly at war over him, and still avoid saying one single verifiable sentence in his own defense. Papoose is the single most silent character in a storyline that is literally about Papoose. That silence, baby, is either strategy or complicity, and neither one of those is a particularly good look on a grown man. Papoose reportedly caused the last major flare-up between Claressa Shields and Remy Ma, and now Papoose is reportedly at the very center of the second major flare-up between Claressa Shields and Tesehki. At some point, Papoose stops being a coincidence, and Papoose starts being a pattern, and patterns, honey, are the kind of thing that make grown women sit up in bed at 3 a.m. and reconsider every single text they have ever answered. If Papoose is truly, sincerely, Claressa Shields man and Claressa Shields man only, then Papoose has one job in this entire storyline, and Papoose is not doing that job. If Papoose is quietly enjoying this whole attention wave, then Papoose is playing a game that Papoose is eventually going to lose in a very public and very expensive way. And if there is a version of this story that we the public are not seeing, the version behind the closed door, the version off the phone, the version Claressa Shields cries about in the driveway before she walks in the house, Papoose owes Claressa Shields at least one public sentence. Claressa Shields, at absolute minimum, deserves that single public sentence. And since we are already on the subject of Papoose, let us flash all the way back to the Remy Ma chapter of this ongoing series, because it is functionally impossible to understand this Tesehki moment without also understanding the Remy Ma moment that preceded it by less than a full news cycle. Remy Ma, according to public reports and the timeline everybody was screenshotting in real time, allegedly clashed with Claressa Shields over the exact same man, in the exact same energy, over the exact same kind of implication. Different accuser, same accusation. Different photograph, same triangle. Different caption, same shape. And now, less than a full news cycle later, here comes Tesehki running the same play from a slightly different angle with fresher legs. When something happens once in this culture, honey, it is a moment. When something happens twice, it is a coincidence. When something happens 3 times, it is a lifestyle. And Papoose, from where I am sitting on this couch, is exactly one more screenshot away from being a full lifestyle. Claressa Shields, who is genuinely a champion of pattern recognition inside the ring, because that is literally what elite boxing is at the highest level, reading a pattern faster than the other woman can hide her tell, appears, for reasons only Claressa Shields herself understands, to be actively refusing to read the pattern outside the ring. And every single time Claressa Shields defends the pattern instead of confronting the pattern, another wave of the audience takes a full step back. That is not a Tesehki problem. That is not a Remy Ma problem. That is a mirror problem, and you cannot spar with a mirror. The mirror always wins. The mirror does not blink. The mirror does not get tired. The mirror does not miss. Let me take you deep inside the psychology of what Tesehki actually did here, because this is the part that all these little reaction videos on YouTube are absolutely underselling. Tesehki did not attack Claressa Shields. Read that sentence one more time, honey, and let it sit for a beat. Tesehki did not attack Claressa Shields. Tesehki attacked the story Claressa Shields tells herself about Claressa Shields. There is a version of Claressa Shields' internal narrative where Claressa Shields is completely untouchable, the queen of the ring, the queen of the house, the queen of the man, the queen of the timeline, the queen of the whole entire empire. Tesehki reached in from the outside, without any evidence, without any punch, without any actual confrontation, and quietly poked exactly one small hole in exactly one specific wall of that internal narrative. The wall labeled the man. And once one wall of a self-story starts leaking, honey, every other wall in that house starts to look suspicious in the light. That is exactly why Claressa Shields' response was so wildly disproportionate to the actual event. Claressa Shields was not defending Papoose. Let me say that again because it is important. Claressa Shields was not defending Papoose. Claressa Shields was defending the entire architectural integrity of the fantasy that Claressa Shields has full command over every single room in Claressa Shields' life. Tesehki is not a boxer. Tesehki is a demolition expert. And Tesehki did not need a hammer or a wrecking ball. All Tesehki needed was one caption placed on exactly the correct load-bearing wall. That is not a talent you can teach in any gym. That is either intuition or it is coaching from somebody very, very smart standing just off camera. Either way, it worked. Let me hit you with the bigger pattern that nobody else in this reaction space is naming out loud, because this is where the story gets truly big and truly cultural. Claressa Shields is not the first champion to lose the narrative in a story exactly like this one, and Claressa Shields will absolutely not be the last. There is a cycle in this culture that keeps repeating itself over and over and over. Elite performer, top of their craft, decides one day to prove that their real-world dominance translates seamlessly to social media dominance. It does not. It never has. It never will. Because the skill set that made you a champion in the first place, the discipline, the linear thinking, the game plan, the willingness to grind through a 9-round drought, the ability to take a hard shot and reset, is the exact, precise, mathematical opposite of the skill set that wins the internet on a Tuesday afternoon. The internet rewards volatility. The internet rewards chaos. The internet rewards the person who cares the absolute least about the outcome. And Claressa Shields, in this exact moment in the story, cared way, way, way too much. Claressa Shields cared out loud. Claressa Shields cared with receipts. Claressa Shields cared with fan polls. Claressa Shields cared with $300,000 offers to fighters who had not even asked. Every single ounce of that caring was gasoline for Tesehki's little fire. Tesehki, meanwhile, cared just enough to press one button on a phone. Post. And then Tesehki closed the app and walked away. That is the entire lesson of this whole cycle. When you are the champion move is silence. Claressa Shields chose noise. And noise is a young opponent's game. Let me recap the whole tea one more time, baby, in the plainest possible sit your mama down and explain it language. Claressa Shields put a bounty on herself. Tesehki answered the bounty. Claressa Shields went on a podcast and argued that a trained fighter always beats a street fighter. Tesehki went on live and said Claressa Shields could only beat Tesehki in a universe where Tesehki was never allowed to learn how to fight properly. The internet split completely down the middle, and both halves were loud. Claressa Shields kept escalating instead of stepping back. Claressa Shields threw around a $300,000 offer to Tecia Torres, ran multiple fan polls, floated new matchups, tagged names into the conversation who did not ask to be tagged. Tesehki, in the meantime, said almost nothing at all. Tesehki simply posted one photograph that happened to include Papoose, delivered a caption calm enough to be legal and loaded enough to be lethal, and let the audience finish the sentence themselves in the replies. Claressa Shields rushed to the timeline within the hour with a counter photo and a possessive caption that read like a woman refreshing her partner's location tab in the airport parking lot. And that, honey, right there, was the exact moment. That was the moment Claressa Shields quietly, publicly, and now permanently on the record, lost this round. Not the fight. Not the career. Not the legacy in the ring. But the round. The internet round. The round that everybody is going to remember when Claressa Shields is doing red carpet interviews 5 years from now. So the question I want you to sit with, baby, as you scroll down to those comments, because you know I want you deep in those comments, that is how we feed this couch and keep the kettle hot, is this. Can you be the very best in the entire world at your craft and still lose the narrative to somebody who never studied your craft a single day in her life? And if the honest answer to that question is yes, and I think in the year of our internet the honest answer is undeniably, unarguably, sit down somewhere yes, what does that say about how this culture actually rewards discipline versus how this culture actually rewards spectacle? Are we still watching sports at all, or are we watching character arcs that just happen to include a boxing ring somewhere in the third act? Is Claressa Shields a fighter in 2026, or is Claressa Shields a storyline now, and can Claressa Shields ever really be one without also being the other? Team Tesehki would destroy Claressa Shields if she actually trained, drop a fire emoji in the comments. Team Natural Talent means nothing without real training, drop a boxing glove. Team Claressa Shields clears in the ring but Tesehki clears online, drop both of them, because that is where I quietly live on this couch right here. And if you already think Papoose is the true final boss of this entire ongoing story, drop the eyeball emoji, because Papoose is coming up in the very next breakdown on this couch, and you absolutely do not want to miss what has been leaking out of his camp this week. Before you close this tab and go about your evening, do me one more very small thing, baby. If you made it all the way down here to this exact sentence, you already know we did not water down a single solitary drop of this tea. Tap the like. Tap subscribe if you are new around here. Share this with the friend who bet you dinner that Claressa Shields would clear Tesehki both on and off the timeline, because now that friend owes you a full sit-down meal with dessert. Turn the notification bell on, because when this storyline snaps again, and it will snap, honey, it always snaps, these things never stay quiet, you do not want to hear about it 3 days late on somebody else's channel with somebody else's spin. This is your couch. This is your cup. This is your inside track on every messy, petty, cinematic, character-driven corner of celebrity culture in the year of our internet. The kettle is always hot. The lid is always all the way off. The sugar bowl is always full. And the next pour of tea is already being brewed in the back. Until the next one, protect your peace, mind your own timeline, screenshot nothing you would not want screenshotted back, and always remember this one small truth on your way out the door: the belt says who is the champion, but the caption says who really, actually, honestly won the night. See you on the next one, baby. Same couch. Same cup. Bigger pour.